Information and cybersecurity are traditionally activities that happen at the start of a project and then just before that project goes into production. From there, you'll call security when you think there's an incident, and security might show up around once a year when there's an audit. Now, like most things in the cloud, you can continue to conduct your security practice in this traditional manner, and it's going to work as well as it ever has. But there's the potential to change how you conduct your practice and to modernize your approach to both information and cybersecurity. AWS Reinforce 2021 gave us a glimpse of what that type of a security practice could look like. Now, the content from the event will be available on YouTube soon, but it's important to know that the day was structured into 5 categories: threat detection and incident response, identity and access management, network and infrastructure security, data protection and privacy, and governance, risk, and compliance, or GRC. Now, the VP and CISO of AWS, Stephen Schmidt, gave a keynote with an overview of these categories, and in that keynote, he highlighted some minor new features and functionality that AWS has shipped over the past year to help boost these areas. The other 5 breakout sessions in the day went deeper into one of these categories. They were all solid, but I want to call 2 out in particular. The first was the customer segment during the keynote. That featured Brian Lozada from HBO Max, and the second was the breakout session by Eric Brandwein on the security culture at AWS. Both of these segments are worth watching in their entirety when they're available on demand. Now, while the specific discussions and talks at the event were valuable, what really struck me was the bigger picture that they were painting. That picture followed up on Stephen Schmidt's fantastic talk at AWS reInvent 2017, showing how deeply integrated the security functions at AWS are with the rest of the business. Now, a lot has changed since then, both globally and in the AWS cloud, but if anything, it appears that that deep integration has actually gotten deeper. Now, what do I mean by that? What's a deep integration? Well, let me answer that with a quote from that talk in 2017. When addressing the idea of a security operations center at AWS, Stephen Schmidt said the following, quote, "How many security engineers are performing operations work at AWS on any particular shift? 1, end quote. Now, at any given time, AWS has 1 security engineer doing normal operational work. No massive security operations center, no unwieldy security teams centralizing all of that work. AWS has deeply integrated security into everything that they do. And at AWS Reinforce 2021, Eric Brandwein said that the AWS security team is now over 1,000 people strong. But those 1,000 people are actually distributed throughout AWS, working directly with other teams. Stephen, Eric, and the rest of the team realized early on that having one team doing all that cybersecurity and information security work simply won't scale in any organization, let alone one the size of AWS. So how does this all work? Well, again, I'll go back to that fateful talk in 2017. Another quote from Stephen shows us the way. Quote, "We love mechanisms. They drive repeatable, correct behavior," end quote. Automation is the key to modern security success, not only because it scales, but also because of the speed at which it works. Again, from Stephen, quote, "If you have people sitting in a room looking at screens to make your security detections actionable, you're probably too late," end quote. Now, I would go as far as saying that you are too late if your plan is to catch everything in a security operations center. Building up security as its own big, heavy process and team means that you're constantly going to be fighting for resources. And no matter how many resources you do actually gather, you won't be able to get past one simple truth. The security team isn't the one responsible for the operations of the systems that they're working to secure. Sure, security is accountable for them, but it requires negotiation to get visibility into those systems in the first place. It takes finesse to get things like patching prioritized. A centralized security team simply can't scale, and it can't handle the communications overhead required to maintain the proper context to align directly with the business. Thus, the AWS approach of deeply integrating into the business. Now, just like serverless systems use servers, AWS does actually in fact have a centralized security team. The difference is what that team is doing and how they measure their performance. By pushing cybersecurity duties like system configuration, patching, and monitoring to the teams that are building and running the services, that allows the central team to take on tougher challenges. They get to focus on high-level issues and overall standards. This allows the organization to leverage their unique talents instead of bogging them down with day-to-day minutia better handled in the context of the affected system. This also creates a clear escalation path for all the other teams. If they can't solve it with their embedded security talent, the centralized team now has the capacity to assist. Now, instead of everything being a priority, this distribution of effort allows the organization to maximize the talents of every team member. Now, in 2017, Stephen Schmidt and the AWS team laid out not a vision, but really an explanation of what they were doing for security in their organization. And at every event since then, AWS has continued to elaborate on how they practice security in their organization. This information is always presented purely as educational. It's not prescriptive, but it should be. This model is highly effective and very scalable. Can you say that about your security team?